Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Khmer Time Cost Talk. You know, as a driver of a Toyota Prius, which is like more than 25 years old, it is funny for me to talk about car, but I'm really interested in this topic, automobile. And on my right, we have Jason Broom. Yes. Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure to be here in such a great
Yeah.
environment
Yeah.
and in this famous show, so we're happy to talk about our activities.
Thank you for coming here. So Jason, he's the CEO of CAS Management. That is the company that is going to host next year the Phnom Penh Auto Show. You know, in March, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So. Like all brand of vehicle, all brand of automobile companies gonna be there and for you to look at. So, Jason, to begin with, can you please tell me about this? Why are you doing this, the Phnom Penh Auto Show? How significant it is?
So I've been in Cambodia for a few years now, and I'm a passionate automotive person. I've just actually come back from the Thailand Auto Show, and there wasn't anything like that here. So I saw the opportunity and thought, you know, why do we not have an auto show? Why do we not showcase all of the brands in one place? What I see around Cambodia is each brand has its own space of doing something. They do a little show here, a little show there. So for me, it's like, why don't we create a showcase of automotive to try and bring everything together? So it's not just about the car. It's about the cars, the insurance, the fuel, the accessories, the parts, the tires, all of the things that encompass automotive to try and bring it together so people can experience it all in one place.
All right. Like I mentioned earlier, I try a 20 years old Toyota Prius. Well, I guess I try my car. I'm really interested in like new brand, you know. But as I get out on the street, I see many more motorbikes than car on the Cambodian road. You know, that means like there's so many motorbike drivers than the car drivers in Cambodia, I assume. So, do you see opportunity or challenge when it comes to this fact information?
I think one of the reasons that people use motorcycles so much in Cambodia is its convenience. There's only 4 or 5 major roads that run around Phnom Penh, so it's much easier to park a motorcycle, travel on a motorcycle. Okay, less convenient when it's raining, but also I think it's a bit more cost effective. People are cost conscious. Yeah. Arguably they're better for the environment, so you could say there's an environmental reason for some people.
Yeah.
But I think the cost factor is one of the biggest reasons why people use motorcycles a lot more. But what we're seeing the trend in the market, if we look at the data from maybe 2015, 90% of the cars that were coming to Cambodia were used cars. Now that shift is now only 70%. 30% of the market is now a new car.
Oh, wow.
So we're seeing a big shift and change in the way people buy cars. So for example, the cost of a new car and the price of a used car, the gap is becoming so close that people are looking to say, well, maybe I can afford a new car now because the used cars here are not cheap in comparison. So that's why we're seeing a trend in the market, and that's also why we see this opportunity. I think there's a restriction that some people that have never been to a new car dealership are scared to go inside because they're intimidated by, oh, if I go inside, then I have to buy a car. I cannot just go to look. So the auto show brings that all together, that they open the public to a brand or an experience they would never normally see.
Right. So speaking of the automobile market in Cambodia, we have a big, let's say we have a pie here. So do you think like which brand has the biggest share of the pie?
I think the number 1 and 2 brands here is Ford and Toyota.
Okay. Yeah.
And globally, that's quite a trend. They're one of the 2 of the biggest car brands in the world. From memory, the Ford Ranger was the number 1 selling vehicle last year. So I think it's between the Toyota and the Ford are really selling well. And what I see from Ford is a lot of advertising in the provinces, so that must help them very well.
Right, right. Yeah, you mentioned earlier that you know when you try a motorbike, you try a more big, more pad. You really find it easily. You can like find places to park them. Speaking of car, I mean, as a driver myself, I had to recognize this. You know, like it's very hard to find space for parking. Maybe do you think this is a factor that like obstruct the acceleration of the car market in Cambodia?
I think one of the things is the infrastructure in Cambodia is catching up with the growth of the economy.
Yeah.
So the growth of Cambodia over the last 4 to 5 years has been very strong. So people who couldn't afford a car in the past have now bought one. So the roads are busier, and because the roads are busier, they need more parking. But the infrastructure for car parks and those kind of things hasn't been developed yet. So I think there's an opportunity for that in the future.
Right. Speaking of the future, yeah. Of course, for the upcoming auto show, what the world is on trend right now is the EV,
Yeah.
electric vehicle. We have Tesla, of course, the most well-known brand in the world. But we also have like we have like some brands from Asia, such as China, and, Japan, and Korea. So, do you see a future here? And will you have like EVs attending the upcoming auto show?
We will definitely have EVs,
Yeah.
and we'll also have infrastructure partners that can help build charging networks and charging stations in Cambodia. You know, one of the big things about EVs, there's a misconception, is that people talk about range.
Yeah.
You know, so one of the things we're hoping to do is educate people a bit more on about how viable an EV is. Most of the EVs that are produced today have a minimum of 200 or 300 kilometers range. The average mileage for a Cambodian is about 50 to 60 kilometers a day, and most of it's in traffic.
Yeah.
So you would only, in theory, use half of your range, and an electric vehicle is no different to a mobile phone. People have this concept that they have to take the car somewhere to charge it.
Yeah.
But most people who own a car live in a landed property, so they can charge the car at home. And with a good charger, you can charge the car overnight, just like a phone. So we have to really educate people a little bit more on how easy electric vehicles are to use and how convenient it can be. Yes, if you go on a long distance, you go to Kirirom or something, then you would have to consider the drive there and drive back. But with a 300 kilometer range, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. So, if you read our newspaper today, there is one headline saying that there are 1,162 EV
Yep.
registered with the Ministry of Transport. It is the number is on a rise, but it's still low compared to the population of 17 million population. The numbers show that like it's still not the EV are still not like popular among Cambodian people. Do you think like this is going to be an hurdle for like most automobile brand to insert their products in?
I think one of the challenges that you have is winning a customer over. There's a fear of change. Naturally, as human beings, we fear change. And moving to an electric vehicle, there's a lot of stigma around it. Or can I charge it? Where can I charge it? How long will it last?
Yeah,
can I sell it again?
Yeah.
Is the infrastructure there? So this is what we call a barrier to trade. This is what is restricting the influx of electric vehicles. But I think if you look at the neighboring markets around their development, they've gone quite quickly in their growth of electric vehicles, and I don't see Cambodia being very different. It will just depend on how quickly the infrastructure can be developed and how people can have their minds changed and opened to this. For example, if you look at a brand like BYD, they've had great success in Cambodia. You mentioned MG earlier. They're also bringing electric vehicles. So
Yeah.
as more and more come, they become more and more popular. It becomes more and more accepted. So I see the growth over the next 2 to 3 years of EV being quite strong.
So how long have you been in Cambodia, by the way?
2 years.
2 years. So you work in this sector. So from your own perspective, is it easy like to own a car here? I mean, in some countries, like the government, they discourage their people. Singapore, for example, discourage their people to, not to own a car, but to use the public transport instead. In Cambodia, I have to say, the public transport is just like, it's still not there. It's still not at that level. So, is it like, for you, do you think, like, is it easy or convenient to own a car here? To buy a car here?
I think it's relatively easy. I don't think the restriction is always the barrier of cost. So it's cost over reward. If you only ever stay in Phnom Penh and never really go outside the city, then you can probably get around on the local tuk-tuks or something like this, or a motorcycle. But if you go longer distance, then a car is much more beneficial. But if you look at some of the websites that advertise and sell cars, there's always plenty of cars for sale.
Yeah. So, so if you look at it from the perspective of the regulator, of the government, of the authorities, so what do you think should be done in order to like make it bigger, make it better for our automobile industry?
In terms of the sales of new vehicles, or maybe production of vehicles?
Both, let's say.
Okay.
I mean, production. I don't think the production is like easy for Cambodia, which is like agricultural country, and we don't have the infrastructure yet. I think.
Well, there's a couple of brands that already manufacture cars here. They assemble cars.
Yeah.
So they're a CKD completely knocked down unit. So they bring them in parts and then they assemble them here.
Yeah.
So this is a few brands have started to do this. So this not only helps employment, it also helps the environment, and it lowers the taxes for the vehicles.
Yeah.
This lowers the price point for customers.
How about the sale and consumption? I mean, how do you push people to use the new vehicle instead of the used one?
Well, that's happening a little bit naturally. So there are a number of factors that have happened globally. With everything from the pandemic, used cars have become a bit more expensive. So this means they're more expensive to buy, they're more expensive to sell. So the gap between new car price and used car price is narrowed. So if we look at now, you can buy a brand new car for around $24,000. 10 or 15-year-old SUV would be around 15. So you can see the gap between buying a 10 or 15-year-old used car to a brand new car that has 4 years warranty, 4 years service plan, and a good resale value. It means that the new car sale is a much easier option. You also have financing benefits for new cars in Cambodia. So a number of those factors are playing into the new car market.
All right. So how about the EV vehicles? So we know that EV they are helping the environment, without the CO2, without the I mean, I love EV because I do not give so much noise.
Yeah.
So much noises. So what like you mentioned earlier, how you need to educate people about like the benefit of EV, the cost effective part of it. But how about when you put it in the policy? How do you like encourage people to use EV? I mean, charging station is what you have to increase the number, right? But
I think charging stations only become relevant if you cannot charge your vehicle at home. This is the big misconception for me with electric vehicles, that if you have a house with a power point, you can charge your car at home. So you don't need to go to a charging station. You would only really have to go to a charging station if you were going more than 200 kilometers from your home. So this is the big misconception. There's a big fear. You never worry, do I have enough charge in my phone, because you go into a coffee shop and just charge, right? Yeah. It will end up like this, but it comes back to what I said before, that if your car has 200 or 300 kilometers range, and most now are 400 kilometers, if you only drive 60 to 100 kilometers a day, you would only need to charge your car once a week, because you won't get the usage. So I think people are just scared because they don't know. Yeah. But in the markets that I've worked in previously, where we've already introduced EVs and we've done lots of test drives and things with customers, they've quickly adapted and quickly grown. And as one person does it, then his friend does it, and then his brother and his nephew and his cousin, and it will grow. And like from the 1,000 you have now, I'm sure by the end of 2024, it will be at least double.
Nice, nice. One problem, I mean, automobile drivers face in Cambodia, including me, of course, is a traffic congestion. I mean, like, there's a talk about it, like, I do not want to drive a car because, it's going to spend a lot of time on the road, something like that. So, what do you think about this? I mean, like traffic congestion, and you see the link here, the negative link between the traffic problem and the car market?
I think there are a number of factors in Cambodia that don't lend themselves very well to traffic. There's a number of restrictions that are on the road, a number of very, very slow-moving vehicles, and maybe some people have parked in the wrong place. So all these things contribute towards traffic congestion because the traffic can't flow. Another thing that I've maybe observed a little bit is sometimes there's not what we call traffic sequencing. So the first set of traffic lights will change, and then the second set of lights will change at a different time. So the traffic can't move in blocks. So this is something that's that in a lot of bigger cities, they have these what they call traffic sequencing. So they move the traffic around the city in different blocks. And I think that is something that could be improved.
Thank you. I have traveled to countries, and I have attended like car races. We have like car companies. They sponsor their racing cars, and they try to compete which one, to try to find out which one is actually better, actually faster. But in Cambodia, I don't remember the last time we have like a car race here. I mean, you think if it's like a company or maybe like a friend do something like that, does something like that in Cambodia, you think it's going to improve the market?
I would love that. I've raced cars and motorcycles myself.
Okay.
So I would love for there to be some element of motorsport. What I do know is there's some element of off-road competition here. I believe there is a couple of companies that do go-karting competitions. So to do motorsport, you need a big space and a lot of investment to build a motorsport track. But I definitely agree that there is an appetite for it. If we go to some of the small gatherings of the car clubs around the city, they would be only too willing to go to a race circuit and use it. So I think there's definitely a desire for it, but it's, where would you do it? How would you do it? Where would the investment come from?
Right.
Look at Formula One around the world now. You would never imagine that there would be 3 races in America. The street circuit in Las Vegas, for example. It's not something you could ever have imagined would be possible. Azerbaijan, for example. There's lots of Asian races now coming possible. There's a Thai MotoGP race. So, the countries are around us developing motorsports. So I think there will be a lot of spillover.
Right. So going back to the upcoming Phnom Penh Auto Show, so supposing that I'm going to be there in March, what I'm going to see, what I will be able to do when I got there. Can you please elaborate us on that?
Yeah. So one of the things is we're trying to create an event, not just somewhere you can go and look at cars, because you can look at cars on the street, for example.
Yeah.
So we'll have exhibitions, seminars. We'll have Formula One simulators, so like car racing.
Oh, okay, nice.
Esports. We have competitions. We have games. We have singers, entertainment. We have a very nice cocktail lounge, so you can sit and relax and watch some of the entertainment. Okay. We will have exhibits from not just cars, but also from electric vehicle companies, from parts, accessories, off-road, lifestyle. We're planning a fashion show. So there's lots of things going on. We're also going to have the ability, if the brands want to offer this, a test drive of the new cars during the event.
Nice. Did you receive like support from the government, the authority? Do they support this?
We're at the moment negotiating with the government. because we're aligning with their objectives on being promoting electric vehicles, promoting the be more fuel efficient and more environmentally friendly. Another aspect of the show is we're going to actually advise people on how to make their car more fuel efficient. So, for example, we could take your car and then we can look at your car and say, you need to improve these 3 things, and it would make your car more fuel efficient, or it would make your car better and it would last longer. So we're trying to look at ways that we can educate the market as much as just show people the cars.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna bring my car there. I'm saving for a jump starter. Okay. Do you expect this to be a success? I mean,
Oh, I expect it to be a big success. We're expecting in excess of 20,000 people.
oh wow.
There's 10,000 people a day into the Kopek exhibition hall.
Yeah, I love it. I wish you all the best for the upcoming
Thank you.
event. So that's it, folks. That's it for our interview. So thank you for watching us, and see you next week. Goodbye.